Hi, I'm Adam Russell, and I'm still the new director of the AI division at University of Southern California's Information Sciences Institute. That is to say, I'm still the director, and I'm still very new. Having started a couple of months ago, I've made it part of my mission to get to know all the humans behind the AI at ISI, in part because I came here to work with amazing people who are driven, sometimes you might even say called, to be in the mix of this technological and increasingly social inflection point. But also in part because I realized early on that AI is very much about us as humans. The humans that we'll work with or be impacted by AI, of course, but also the humans who are, well, to use a wholly unsatisfactory metaphor, in the garages and on the work floors. The humans who are creating and shaping the wide range of technologies that are being lumped under this term AI. It's my belief that we can't get a good sense of what AI is today, much less where it may be headed tomorrow, without understanding these humans better. Not just what they're doing in AI or how, but perhaps to me more importantly, why? Why are they devoting the most precious resources any of us have, time and energy, to AI? I think appreciating the humans behind AI, the diversity of their experiences, their hopes, their fears, whether or not they can tell a good AI joke, will be key to helping us increase the odds that this turbulent time leads to better societies, futures, and well-being for all of us. My guest today is Katy Felkner. She's a PhD student at USC and working at ISI, which means she's probably one of the biggest reasons I'm at ISI, to do what I can as director to help brilliant young minds develop into world-class leaders in AI. Now, Katy, for the record, we've actually never met in person. And so you must sort of wonder, is this really the best way to meet somebody the first time on the podcast? Well, we're going to test that empirically, but I do appreciate you being here. And there is a method to this madness. Here's what I'm hoping to do and not do. So what I don't want to do is spend this podcast talking about all the gritty technical details, which are important about your actual work in AI, right? So from my perspective, the world needs another technical deep dive AI podcast like it needs another season of Manimal. And if you don't know what that show was, you are lucky. Instead, I'm going to go old school anthropology on you, right? Which is say, I'm going to talk to you. So I'm going to ask you about your origin story. What about the space gets you out of bed? What worries you and excites you the most about AI? Where you think AI is headed based on your experience? Things you think other people should know about AI? And of course, we'll end with a speed round series of questions from the Russell Voigt test to verify that you are, in fact, human. So Katy Felkner, welcome. Thanks for being here. You ready to get started?
Yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited to get to talk with you.
Yeah, again, this is sort of me working smarter and harder, and that I'm really excited to work with you. And given where we are, this is a perfect opportunity for me to understand more about you. And so I'm looking forward to this. So let's start with a thought experiment and go back in time to 6-year-old Katy. And I want to sit and watch you explain to your 6-year-old self what you are doing in AI and maybe even why.
Well, actually, for my 6th birthday, I got my first computer. So I would be pretty stoked about this, I think. I would tell myself that computers have their own languages that take people a long time to learn. And I work on helping computers write and speak the same way that people do so that they can be more useful to us. And I would also say that I specifically make sure that when the computers are writing and speaking like people do, they treat everybody the same way. And so I work to make sure that the computers are fair and nice to everyone.
Interesting. So let me role play a little bit. Assume your 6-year-old self, has a 5 o'clock shadow in this case. Your 6-year-old self says, well, how did that happen? I mean, why aren't they fair? Why aren't they unbiased to begin with? What, how could people have let it go this long and end up here where we are now?
Well, there's 2 reasons for that. I think the first is computers learn from people, and people have biases.
Mm-hmm.
So some people don't think that everybody is equal or that everybody should be treated fairly. And sometimes the computers learn from them. The other thing is that I don't know how to explain this well to my 6-year-old self, but sometimes the people who make these computers are more interested in selling them than making sure that they are as fair as possible. And as a grown-up, I work on helping people understand what the problems are with the models that are out there.
Yeah, awesome. And your 6-year-old self, I'm sure, will come to appreciate that sometimes just being able to understand the problem is the very most important first step, right? To acknowledge that there's that problem. Okay, so there's a problem. You've come to the fight, as it were, almost as kind of a superhero. What how would you describe, if you had to, what your kind of superpower is?
Technical communication.
Okay.
So I actually also have a humanities background. In my previous life, I was also a classics major and I worked in digital humanities. I was doing technical work. I was writing software, but for a classics audience, and I was having to write papers and give talks to a classics audience. And these are like tweed coat academics who think that Microsoft Word is a little too new. And so working in that space really pushed me to get good at communicating why my technical work was important and what it could accomplish for downstream users. And I think that has really, those technical communication skills have really been my superpower.
Nice.
And those communication skills, being able to just talk to people from different disciplines and explain in a way that everybody at the table can understand what I'm doing.
Wow. We're going to, obviously, being an anthropologist who's worked with AI and is now the director of division, I'm sympathetic to this notion of aliens and the power that aliens have, right? Not colonizers, but aliens who visit new worlds and understand that to solve the problems they care about, they're going to need to learn new things and engage in new communities. All right. Well, let me riff off that though. So things seem to be coming at us in their own time, but much, much faster than I think many people appreciate it, right? We're being surprised on a near daily basis as to what these technologies can do while still staying calm. What are you worried most about with AI?
So for me, the biggest thing I worry about is losing sight of immediate harm and immediate safety impacts as we think about really long-term safety and societal impacts. And so I'm not interested in a theoretical future 10 billion years in the future talking about people who don't exist yet. AI is deployed today. It is having effects on real people that exist today. And I think it is certainly more important to me to focus on understanding how this technology is impacting the people that are being affected by it today than it is people who might theoretically be affected by it in the future.
So going from there, we're gonna split. We're gonna go to parallel universes. And one universe, I want to ask, where have you been most wrong about AI, or what's been the most counterintuitive thing that you've learned in AI? And then we'll return you to the other universe. So where have you been most wrong about AI?
It's often very counterintuitive for me how well models learn in a bottom-up fashion, because I tend to learn things in a very top-down fashion. What got me interested in language was taking Latin. And, you sit there and you learn, this is how the first declension nouns go. This is how the second declension nouns go. You learn all these rules and then you have to apply them. Whereas, and so that's the way that I'm used to thinking about language. And for a long time, people thought that models had to learn in the same way that humans, or in that way. But now models learn in this very bottom up way where they just induce rules from data or induce generalizations from data. And so it's often counterintuitive for me to remember like how much better these models are at inducing rules from data than I am, and maybe humans in general are.
Gotcha. All right, that makes sense. So let's go back to the other parallel universe. And in this universe, you've got a lot of money, and you have been given the opportunity to open a center for AI and AI and what center would you start and why?
I I would be focusing on like real-time, quick turnaround audits of released models. And so a public record of how different released models and commercial products are performing on bias benchmarks,
Mm-hmm.
both at release
Mm-hmm.
time and as they evolve. Because there's a lot of, especially with like closed source models, they're changing under the hood, and what it says on Monday might not be what it says on Friday.
Gotcha. Yeah.
Yeah.
So, are you a science fiction reader?
Yes.
Okay. What's this is going to be a complicated question, but we can make it simple if necessary. Your center is wildly successful. As a result of the Katy Felkner Center for AI and what science fiction scenario are we now inhabiting because your center was successful? What does right look like in your mind?
Yeah, so a lot of my favorite books are fairly pessimistic about AI,
Right,
right?
the dystopic ones. Okay, let's not go there.
Yeah, so I hope we're
Well,
not
then,
inhabiting Dune. I hope we, haven't Dune or Foundation. I hope we haven't killed off all the robots. I would say this is a cliche answer, but the Star Trek future is one that I am hopeful for, where, all human cultures and alien cultures can understand each other well and
mhm.
respect each other and collaborate with each other and be exploring our world both scientifically and anthropologically, to, when they're ready and warp capable, bring new civilizations into collaboration with us. And like specifically technology wise, I'm working more in the fairness space now, but I started out in machine translation, and obviously like the universal translator is incredibly cool. Yeah.
Even here, right? Even here, I can tell you
Yeah.
as an anthropologist, we use the same words and we mean very different things. And there's so much translation that's still required, even on Earth. So, okay, so coming to it as you have, what do you think is a concept or an interpretation of AI that's most misunderstood? Where do people go the most wrong with AI in your experience?
So I'm going to borrow some language and some ideas from Emily Bender here. This is not all original Katy Felkner thought,
Great
but
artists borrow, or what is it they say? A good artist borrow, great artist steal. Okay.
I I think that people tend to anthropomorphize AI, and specifically they tend to assign it intents and motives that we don't have evidence it has. If a model says you're my best friend, it doesn't have context on what it means to call someone a friend, and it doesn't have intent behind it in the same way that a human might when they call someone their
Mhm.
best friend.
But that's hard to do, right? When they're being set up to do that, to appear to have these things and to engage with us on that level.
Yeah, I am by no means above this advice. Like it's difficult for me sometimes. Even like the language we use, the
It
model
learns.
said or the
Yeah, it's
model
it. Yeah.
thinks. I don't think it is saying or thinking in the same way that we are.
No,
It's
it's going to be tricky. I have a personal love hate relationship with my refrigerator, for example. That sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. But anyway, do you think technically though, projecting out that an AI can ever be a best friend eventually? And if so, do you think that's something we should like accelerate and try to embrace, or something we should pump the pedals and maybe fear a little bit?
I don't think that I would either embrace it or fear it necessarily. Friendship between humans is ideally rewarding for both people. Whereas if it's a model that is running on some server in a basement somewhere, it's essentially, friendship as a service. I can see the point in, companionship as a service,
Yeah, yeah.
conversation as a service, but I don't think that true friendship is something that we can sell as a software service. I do have concerns about some of the current products that exist in that space. In particular, I don't use Snapchat anymore, but I have younger cousins, and I know that there's like an AI you can converse with on there. I've heard my cousins tell me that they and their friends have told, I forget what its name is, but whatever its name is, wildly personal information. And so I think that as much as I can see value in AI companionship and AI conversation, privacy and transparency are paramount for any kind of close personal relationship with a model. I would not like to see friend models get used as a data harvesting kind of tool.
Not ideal. Yeah, understandably. Two ask quick questions. Would you rather have AI generate all pop music from here on out, or create all new fashion trends going forward?
Definitely fashion trends. Like, I truly don't think models could come up with anything more nonsensical than whatever's coming out of TikTok these days. Like,
so we're already there. That's right. Gotcha.
Maybe this is me showing my age. I'll be 25 next week, but I will wear low-rise flare jeans over my dead body. No,
you hear that, AI?
No AI can convince me to wear low-rise flare jeans.
That's a good Terminator sequel coming up here. We have to come back in time to keep the AI from imposing.
Bringing back the worst of early 2000s fashion.
Okay, so along those lines, and I suspect you'll probably have some thoughts on this, and this will be the last question. Would you rather see AI surpass humans in creativity or in empathy? And I'll leave that to your interpretation.
The obvious answer as a fairness person is like, oh, of course I want the AI to be empathetic. Mm-hmm. But we talked earlier that, like, I don't think we have evidence that AI can be truly empathetic. We can train it not to say mean things, but I don't think there's any evidence that genuine empathy is on the horizon. And so I think what is more useful is creativity, because ideation and brainstorming are somewhere that, like, humans and AI could collaborate really effectively. I think that models have the opportunity to draw new connections that might not be obvious to humans, because we come into, creative exercises with our own experiences. And so, I was thinking about this. Models have a chance to help us in creativity because they've never been told, like, quit doodling and pay attention, or quit reading that dragon book and pay attention. So models don't come into a creative exercise with maybe the same set of, like, biases toward practicality and usefulness that humans do.
Yeah, no, I think that's right. Sometimes we talk about, again, aliens as being useful because they don't know what questions not to ask, right? What's been drilled out of us from previous experience. All right. Well, that was a great note to wrap this up on, Katy. And what can I say? This podcast is about the humans behind the AI, and you brought the human in a great way. And I do think it's helping us to grok more about AI too. So I look forward to continuing to work with you as a colleague, navigating our way through this, what I call apocalyptic time, to end up in a better place.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me on. I'm really grateful for the opportunity. Like any academic, I love talking about my work. I'll do it to anybody at any opportunity, whether they ask for it or not. So,
all right. Well, thank you, listeners, for once more tuning in to learn more about the AI insiders, right? These humans behind ISI's AI. Please join us again, because we will have more brave humans who will join us on the podcast to continue to talk about their backgrounds, their experiences, and their why. Why are they in this space of AI, and how are they contributing to what I think is our ultimate goal, which is to create these systems of humans and AI to realize new futures that are better than ever for all of us. Fight on.